Our next watercolor live session will take place this Monday, the 1st of December, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different. For the next 4 lives, I want to take a deep dive into 2 different Australian artists' work. Now, the reason why I want to do this is because many artists all over the world, developed over their career such a deep knowledge of different things, color work, tonal values, the way they treated different subjects, the way they would work in a more impressionistic style, a more hyperrealist style, abstract style. They would use 40, 50, 60 years to develop this knowledge. And instead of every artist today trying to reinvent the wheel, we can actually learn from these amazing artists, combine what they learned to what we do to improve our paintings faster. And this is something that I want to do, particularly in these next 4 lives. So let me show you the paintings that we're going to be looking into, studying how these artists developed what they did, how they did, and what we can learn from it so that you can actually improve your art faster. So the first artist that I'm going to be presenting to you, and the work that we're going to be influenced by, is my most favorite artist ever in history, and that is Australian artist Arthur Streeton. Now, Arthur Streeton is not known outside of Australia because internet wasn't around. If internet had been around, then the world would have known Arthur Streeton. Arthur Streeton was part of the very influential Heidelberg School, which was actually happening in Melbourne in Australia, or in Victorian Australia, where these artists, this little group of artists, just like the Impressionists in France, actually created an emulation and a stimulation which raised their level of work to a level which was astounding. This is the subject that we're going to be studying this Monday, the 1st of December. Now, for anybody who has trouble using color or understanding which colors to use, this is going to be an important lesson for you. For anybody who likes to work with texture, and yes, you can absolutely put texture in a watercolor, and to be perfectly honest, that is such an important thing to do because it's going to make your work different from everyone else's. Your difference is your strength. I say it over and over again. I say it every week. But tonal values, the simplification of the subject, the strong composition, the ability of Arthur Streeton to be able to master every single aspect of painting in every single one of his paintings was astonishing. So this is actually the painting that we're going to be inspired from this Monday, the 1st of December. Just look at the beauty, the simplification of it, understanding color, tonal value, texture, composition, simplification in landscapes. That's basically what we're going to be doing. So the week after, this is another Arthur Streeton painting. This is what we're going to be influenced by. And the reason why I chose this subject is obviously for color. Look at those colors. I want to talk to you about something that I love, and that is strong color in watercolor. Strong color that lasts in watercolor. Look at the blue of the sky. This is an oil painting. This isn't a watercolor. Yet we can get these colors in watercolor. We can actually get these colors in watercolor, and these colors don't have to fade. They can actually stay. I'm going to explain how we do this. So strong color in watercolor makes your watercolor have more power, more presence. If, let's just say, you're exhibiting your paintings, or you're wanting to exhibit paintings amongst oil painters, amongst pastelists that have strong colors. Watercolors can be big, they can be strong, they can be powerful, they can have texture. And as an artist, you're able to turn a landscape, a subject that you have in front of you, into a work of art, not just a reproduction of the image that you have in front of you. Meaning, this week we're going to be focusing on how you actually turn a subject that we see into a painting. This is another painting. It's Arthur Streeton again. And as you can see, I've chosen something very different because there is very different stuff to learn. As much as strength, the image that I've chosen for the 8th of December is important in a painting, you may not want to have that sort of strength in every painting or everywhere in a painting. There is also the subtleties, those subtle nuances of tonal values and of color and of shape that are actually very mesmerizing They guide the eye, they hold the eye, I believe, actually better than strength everywhere in a painting. But again, we're going to be looking at not just the simplification of the subject in this painting, or with this painting, the 15th of December, we're going to be looking about how you actually guide the eye through the painting. This is very much a compositional work of art, and obviously that's going to be our focus on Monday the 15th. Then the last week of December, so this is the 22nd of December, is an absolutely beautiful painting, but this isn't Arthur Streeton. This is another artist from the Heidelberg School, and this artist is another one of my favorites. It's Frederick McCubbin. Frederick McCubbin told a story. This painting is called Lost. This painting, I think, will pull on the emotional strings. His stories were always more prevalent, if you like, than the actual subject. He was able to put a story into a painting, which is just one surface. It's not like a book where there's 400 pages. It's just one canvas or one piece of paper. Frederick McCubbin was the artist of storytelling. And how are you able to actually tell a strong story, an emotional story that touches the viewer with one painting? It's an amazing journey. It's an amazing thing to do. It's something that I've done and that I work on, and I have worked on for probably 20 years. Storytelling and that emotional content is very, very important to me in my paintings. And I also see that as being, just like all the other things that I've been talking about for the 3 weeks prior, these are the elements that I see at the moment are what I find are missing in a lot of paintings. And I think that watercolor hasn't had its glorious days. I don't think that watercolor has seen that rise in technique that makes the galleries, the museums, and everybody want to focus on watercolor, because watercolorists today are constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. We're constantly trying to develop our art from scratch. And 40, 50, 60 years later, we do get somewhere. Watercolors today are probably the highest level I think there has ever been in watercolor. Yet watercolor is still not put on the same level platform in museums and in galleries as the other techniques. Yet watercolors today are absolutely capable of making that happen. So this is my goal. And so I want to use the lives of December. There's 4 weeks where we're going through the work of Arthur Streeton, Frederick McCubbin, to cover all of these different aspects, to see how you're actually able to short circuit the process. And instead of taking 50, 60 years to understand all of these different elements, we can actually learn from people that were so good at it to get faster results. And let's create that movement of watercolor. I think it's time, and I think we're ready. So if that interests you, join me in December. If you want, you can inscribe in all 4 sessions at once, and that will actually give you a reduction in price. Now, if you want to join me on Mondays, don't forget that if you paint along with me during the live, you actually get a critique of your painting done during the live. If you can't join us on Monday, just by inscribing, you get live access to the recording, and you actually get to see and hear these critiques. So make the most of them, and I will see you on Monday. Take care.